Which TV show got too big for its boots? Hi Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will pull down my pants. Is it fair to say Heroes? I love the show, but it was whack for like the last 2 seasons. The reboot was just I don't know what that was. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Okay, we did that, now what? Thank you Peter. But the cheerleader is in another castle. Prison Break. They kept having to break out of prison every 2 seasons. Season 1 was very good. The whole tattoos are the escape plan was really cool. It should have ended after 1 season and a successful escape. If you ask me, it did end after a successful escape in season 1. There's no reason to continue watching. Now the first chasing part and his escape plan was a good season. The South American prison is where it lost the plot. Once upon a time, interesting concept. Pool execution down the line. Every season we had to deal with yet another memory wipe. That got old fast. The Good Place is the only show that can regularly pull off a memory wipe. Jason figured it out. This is a real low point. Double quote. Now, yeah, this one hurts. That 70s show after Jackie and Hyde broke up, Eric and Kelso left, and Donna became blonde. What the frick? Weeds. Once she left the burbs the whole premise was lost and shoot went off the rails. I didn't mind when they were in Renmar. Once they were on the road, it just became a joke. How many times can you screw up, Nancy? I loved True Blood, but man it went way off the rails, especially the last couple seasons. They crammed so much shoot into that show. I'm still amazed Batman didn't make a cameo. Oh my god, I loved it in the books. But then all the fairy shoot started happening in both and I was like frick you Charlene Harris, what have you done? Also Billith? What the actual frick? Arrow. By like the 3rd season everyone and their mum becomes a superhero. So you want me to take these nanobots you stole from a government lab and reprogram them to fix some guy's cancer after we inject them into his arm? Yes. Could you give me like 30 minutes? Better yet, let me take a photo of this processor to make a copy of it. Pointing a laptop at a nuclear missile will allow me to hack it. I lived on a magic freaking island for 5 years, but forgot magic was a thing until a magic bad guy turned up. I can beat the magic bad guy with the power of love. Impaled with a sword through the chest, then falling off a cliff into a remote, snowy wilderness, healed by warm fricking tea. Frick me, that show went to shoot. How warm was the tea? Fairly Odd Parents. The writers were fine, but Nickelodeon got too greedy. The addition of Sparky the dog, the new neighbor girl, and the whole anti-fairy world subplot was too much. They just kept adding stuff, but the original structure was pretty good to begin with. Butch Hartman wanted the series to end after Channel Chasers and it did briefly end after one of the Timmy Power Hours, but alas, Nickelodeon brought it back a year later and it went on for far too long. Two come to mind. Glee. The first 13 episodes are good. Then somewhere in the second half of the season they started taking themselves too serious. It would have been much better as a 1-season show. Heroes. Please someone tell me I'm not the only one to remember what a global phenomenon Heroes was touted as. They had their own silly magazine and a worldwide launch party for seasons 2 and 3. But while season 2 could have been decent if it had actually been given time to develop, both seasons were nothing but a mess. Nip Tuck for me. Man. First 3 seasons were just fantastic. After that, just went for shock and trash. Shameless. I grew up in a rough neighborhood with a drunk dad. Then they just sorta kept pushing the characters back to where they were and not really letting them evolve. Not to mention Debbie. Dora the Explorer was always held back by its shooty boots. Have you seen the movie? It was something. I want to say Dexter, but honestly I don't remember how it ends. Something about that dumb girlfriend. Something about it was not very Dexter-like. My friends told me he became a sad lumberjack at the end. I never watched it myself. I wouldn't even call him sad. He becomes a lumberjack and seems to have lost all character development and just enjoys doing what he did in season 1. Freaking trash. The Flash CW. I really liked season 1. Great cast, great writing, and over a lot of great moments. Season 2? Not bad, but a repeat of season 1. Then they just kept repeating the trope of evil speedster, and then making the characters dumb. I also got tired of the many different Welses. Grey's Anatomy. It's currently on its 18th season. Almost all of the original cast is gone. I still watch it, but it's not very good anymore. The only reason I watch is because it has been part of my life for half of my life. It came out when I was 15. I'm now 31. I feel like I need to finish it out. House of Cards, US version. Season 1 was amazing. Season 2 got a little wacky, and the rest was garbage. Storylines just completely abandoned. I didn't even watch the last season for various reasons. The show felt like it had no purpose after Frank became president. Not a TV show, but the Despicable Me franchise. The first movie was actually really good and funny, and the second one was actually pretty good also. Everything after that felt like one big Minion toy advertisement. The best thing to come out of the second movie is the tortilla chip sombrero filled with guac. For me, it was Orange is the New Black. When it started out, it was a fantastic show. It had a diverse cast, a perfect blend of genuinely funny moments mixed with the hard-hitting, brutal reality of prison, a realistic portrayal of both the prisoners and the staff, and a genuinely compelling story. With all of the praise they received, the creators got into their heads that their show would become a huge vehicle for change and was providing a voice for the voiceless. But in the pursuit of that goal, they ended up doing away with the other important stuff that made them good. They replaced most of the prison staff with one-dimensional brutes and cliched, mustache-twirling villains, like Donuts, Piscatella, Thomas Humphrey, Hellman and Linda Ferguson, added a few equally one-dimensional, brutish villains, like Madison Murphy and the Denning sisters, amongst the prisoners, and just sacrificed their entire plot. By the end, it was nothing more than just injustice peen. I feel like the show died with Poussey. BBC's Merlin. It was a good series, but they did the whole Morgana turns evil way too quick. Then it was mostly fighting her for the last 2 series and it really got old. They kept having the whole they defeated her in a way not even a magical person would survive, like crushing her to death or something daft. But she comes back, then right at the end they just stabbed her. She fell from camera view and that was that. It was such a rubbish end. Also Game of Thrones. The shop I work in sells game, TV and film merch and we got Game of Thrones collectibles when it was still popular. Now we are stuck with stock we can't shift because the show deflated like a lead balloon and nobody wants stuff anymore. 13 Reasons why it really should have stopped at S1. It couldn't make up its mind what it wanted to be anymore. Like it started as a cautionary tale, but then a ghost story, then a clue murder mystery whodunit. It just got out of whack. I understand why people might like S1, but for me it was awful. Instead of portraying a student's mental issues and struggles, they turn it into some thriller/mystery show and they heavily glorified Hannah's grudge against others and made her blame them for her own decisions. Spongebob. As a die-hard Spongebob fan, it break my heart to see them drive Spongebob in the ground. Game of Thrones. It arguably crashed under the weight of its numerous plot lines, poor direction and self-imposed time restraints. HBO would have thrown them all the money they needed to make as many seasons as they needed and the story deserved, and showrunner said no. HBO would have thrown them all the money they needed to make as many seasons as they needed and the story deserved, and showrunner said no. It still bothers me how HBO couldn't just replace D&D as the showrunners, especially if they were growing tired of the series or were too nervous to continue writing the show, because they were simply running out of source material to keep giving it the quality of S1 S4. Even though S5 S7 also had its issues, I don't think fans fully touched back on them until S8 made the show a complete disaster. I really wanted this show to be one that I could always go back and watch numerous times like I always do with Breaking Bad, but it really let me down. Unfortunately HBO don't own the rights to Game of Thrones. D&D bought the exclusive rights to Game of Thrones from Martin, so there will never be another Game of Thrones adaptation without their say-so. Spongebob. It's not even Spongebob anymore. I don't even call the new seasons proper episodes. You can see a clear barrier when Hillenburg died and when Nickelodeon took over and disrespected his death and legacy. I can't even watch Nickelodeon anymore. It's not even Nickelodeon. They changed so much. They ended up like mobile, where everything is just 2-minute produced ads to farm money from games with no effort put into them. Children's television is much less in favor than before. They stopped trying. They just lay down and died. They can just produce garbage and reruns and make money, so they did. Just like mobile and movies. Nowadays everyone just watches old movies and shows, back when they had passion. Okay Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will pull down my pants.